Another beautiful morning in the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. It's Friday, the 20th day of July. And I must say, for those who, like to cuddle in the morning, we had some beautiful showers. I want to say good morning to all the farmers, hoping that you're benefiting from all the rain that has turned St. Kitts green again. Okay? In case you don't know, you're locked on to WINNFM 98.9. And you're in tune for another episode of Voices. The clock on the wall says it's just 2 minutes past 11. We're here until 1:30. May do some shout out at the moment to people like Mr. Alfonso Bridgewater, Dr. Mervyn Leader, Dr. Irvin Sweeney, Chris Collins, of course, Jennifer Richards over there in Atlanta, Petra Williams in Antigua. How's the carnival going over there, young lady? Miss Rosemary Donald in New York City, Mrs. Anna Stapleton over there in Green Valley, Valentin Monish over there in Toronto. We're global. So to all the folks on the various time zones around the globe, viewing and listening with listen as well, welcome to another episode of Voices. Val Monish in Toronto, Beulah down there in Newton Ground. Good morning to all the farmers. Hoping that you're benefiting from the rain. Well, have you paused for one of my sponsors yet? We're going to do that right about now. And then we're going to come back and get into the nitty-gritty of today's programming. Okay? We will be right back.
Flow Road to Home is life made simple. One affordable plan that gives you internet at home and mobile on the go. Constant connection anywhere and everywhere, wherever your plans may take you. Switch today and get double the data on your mobile with 60 gigs plus unlimited WhatsApp and YouTube and 400 megabits per second internet speed. Flow Road to Home internet and mobile plan. Your non-stop connection. Visit a Flow store or discoverflow.co for more info. Conditions apply.
Once again, good morning to our many viewers and listeners around the globe. Welcome once again to another episode of Voices. My name is Socrates. And on the table today, we have a couple of items. One will be the a little discussion. I want to weigh in once again on the Uber issue. Then there's some information, some things I'd like to discuss about the CBI program, the passport price increase and the other issues related to that. But my opening salvo is going to be on something that's of more of a personal nature. And I thought I would bring some clarity to it. Now, some weeks ago, I'm about to leave home, and I took a selfie in my yard in front of one of my vehicles, my what we call a safari truck. It's out there in the public space, on YouTube, Facebook, yada yada. But a few days ago, somebody called me and says, I'm going to send you an article. Look at it. It was sent, and I looked at it. And there's that very same picture in me in my purple shirt. It's actually the uniform of the St. Kitts Taxi Cooperative, and I'm standing in front of my truck in my yard. The caption reads, Taxi Operator vents about draft policies, threatens legal action. And at the bottom it reads 11 months in the dust of what's supposed to be labor still. But why I thought I would address this, because the prior Tuesday, the Tourism Authority, including the Minister, the PS, and the CEO, along with many taxi drivers, we met at the Marriott for discussion on some policies that they're hoping to implement for the upcoming cruise season. Some of the things that were mentioned did not sit too well with many of the drivers, and some who weren't there would have been venting in the public space, as they are entitled to. My position in the whole thing is that we are still in consultation with the relevant body. When I say we, the other two presidents and myself. And so to let it play out, and when we come to a final decision, we will take it back to the body. Some people are saying, well, you don't have to wait, you should take protest action now. Somebody mentioned they're going to take the whole issue to a lawyer. Cool. Everyone is entitled to take whatever approach they want. But if you have leadership in place, I'm only suggesting let your leadership represent you. Okay? So what I'm seeing now is this caption with my portrait beneath it that says definitively taxi operator, not taxi operators. Taxi operators. So to me, the optics speaks specifically to me venting about the draft policy and threatening legal action. As I said, it's personal, and I'm here to say, for everyone who's listening, those of you to take it from me, I had nothing to do with this except posing for the picture. I have never taken any stance, made any statement that I would be threatening any legal action. I think it would be asinine of me to be in discussion with whatever said the Tourism Authority, and while we're in midstream, I decide to go and threaten legal action. The question is, who's going to pay for it? The association? That would take discussion with them and come into a consensus before that decision is made. I won't be taking my money to take on any entity on behalf of a body without consulting them. There's been no discussion. I know that there was a comment about seeing a lawyer. That did not come from me. I did not endorse that. I am not part of that. So who want to see that I'm trying to wash my hands? I'm simply trying to clarify that on this particular issue, where it reads taxi operator, not taxi operators, taxi operator, and my portrait is there, giving the impression, well, little old me is threatening legal action. Just to clarify. Okay, so I am hoping that this can put that to rest, bring some clarity to it for those who will naturally assume, because we assume that everything we read in the public space is true. And I've heard many arguments from among the fraternity, of course. I'm not too popular with them. I really don't care. I'm doing what I have to do on behalf of those who would listen and use reason and try to rationalize things before jumping off at the deep end. So that's me taking care of that little issue, a little house cleaning. Taxi operator, that's not me. And I did not threaten anyone or threaten to have any legal action against anyone based on what took place at the of the discussions at the Marriott a few weeks ago. Okay? Back on Sugar, good morning, how are you doing? Now, the next item I'd like to revisit is the whole issue of the Uber service. Mainly because about 2 days ago, a gentleman called me at home and gave his point of view based on a comment or position that the not inspector Kwame Hanley, that's his name, I'll get it straight. Senior police officer, whatever, Kwame Henry. Is he inspector? Inspector Kwame Henry would have said, and I can't quote him directly but the person said that he would have said that it's more or less, to paraphrase, they can't do anything about it. Somebody would have to report the matter to them for them to take action. And the person went on to explain that was passing the buck and what the legislation spoke to in terms of vehicles being to operate in terms of providing public transportation. And there are a couple of commentary on that from other persons. Let me read something. The introduction of Uber service in St. Kitts, and this is from one of the popular bloggers. It says it benefits, let me read the whole thing. Introduction of Uber service in St. Kitts and Nevis benefits for citizens, government, and insurance companies. Right? In other news, using an AP class license and vehicle for reward or hire breaks the law of the Federation. So this is what the person was alluding to. If it's clear that this operation breaks the law of the Federation, they're suggesting there is a means to go and address it. But here's my whole take on it, going back a couple of years. When the Federation, the globe, by extension, was shut down by COVID-19, the taxi service, the business, we took a hard hit. And while we were reeling from that, we were told that there was an Uber service operating, even to come into the circus. And there were people who actually favored them. They backed it because they said the taxi prices were too expensive. We needed to innovate. We needed to do this and that. One businessman on 4th Street even called in to support it. And the question was asked, well, what if other persons came next to your business place, set up shop there, and start to sell a service that's half the price of what you're offering? But that was discussed off here. But it's the whole optics. You're saying that you support them, but you run a business on 4th Street. What if other person just came there, set up shop next to your establishment that you're paying all the various tax and business license for? Set up shop next to you, starting to offer service for the same items at half the price. You know? So when you look at things from the various angles, you get a better understanding. In meetings with the then tourism authority, the question was raised, how did they get their license? Because to operate in public space or for public transport, you must have a H on the bus, like the bus drivers. They have to pay a specific license, have the requisite insurance, etc., etc. Taxi drivers have to go through training, get the license, go through all kinds of different stuff. The insurance, you must have the adequate insurance that allows you to conduct business for hire, so that if any of the patrons are injured, they are covered. So we advance the arguments for the people who are driving in these vehicles. You may think you're getting a sweet deal, but if there's an accident or any incident wherein you're injured, you are not covered because those P-class license does not give the holder any rights to conduct any commercial business in the vehicle. The insurance whole issue, and that was thrown back and forth. I recall a certain gentleman from a certain establishment said to me, Socrates, we do not give license. Well, the policing authority, the licensing authority, they give license. How did they? And the whole thing went round and round and round to the point when we met at the Marriott last week, was it Tuesday? It was made very clear by the director of tourism that this was an illegal enterprise, and she warned the public, for those who listened, and of course it was rebroadcast, she warned the public that when you go into these vehicles, you're taking a chance. You're free to take a chance. But once you advise, they say, if you're forewarned, you're forearmed. So there's that topic. There's that issue I wanted to get up there also. So if the caller who called me want to get in on the conversation today, you're invited to do so, because you articulated your points based on what you heard from the inspector a lot better than I can represent this morning. So the lines are open, 662-0989, 466-0989, and I do believe 762-0989 gets you in on the conversation. I would like also to comment on the candlelight ceremony that was held last night in the honor of Uncle Mickey Stokes. Very well attended. I did not know about it until I saw read something on Facebook, but I did watch and I did enjoy, so I appreciate that. Okay. I think we're about 20 minutes down past the hour, and we should break for a few kind words from our sponsors. Then we'll get back to the program.
Shopping with TDC just got much easier. Here's how. Log on to shoptdcgroup.com. Shop at your convenience at any time, from anywhere, with your smartphone, tablet, or computer. With our safe and secure payment checkout, you choose the option to pick up in-store or have your goods delivered right to your door. It's that easy. Shop tdcgroup.com, your one-stop online store.
Shop anywhere, shop anytime, same quality you love. Now online. Shop www.shoptdcgroup.com.
Buster! We run things, things are on we. Buster! Buster! Living color, do it differently. Buster! Buster! Large and in charge, like for the party. Buster! Buster! We set the pace, then everybody follow it.
7 flavors, best taste, Buster, bolder, better, better. Pick your color.
We set the pace, then everybody follow it.
Buster, live in full color.
Buster!
Flow Road to Home is life made simple. One affordable plan that gives you internet at home and mobile on the go. Constant connection anywhere and everywhere, wherever your plans may take you. Switch today and get double the data on your mobile with 60 gigs, plus unlimited WhatsApp and YouTube, and 400 megabits per second internet speed. Flow Road to Home internet and mobile plan. Your non-stop connection. Visit a Flow store or discoverflow.co for more info. Conditions apply.
We're back with the program, and we're told we have a call online. Caller, good morning. We take the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to Voices.
Hey, good morning, Socrates.
Sister
nice
Henry, good
hearing
morning.
you.
Definitely. Did you enjoy the rain last night?
Did I enjoy the rain?
Rain.
I call it an answer to prayer, boy. I didn't just enjoy, I was giving thanks, and I'm still giving thanks and
Better
praise.
believe it.
Yeah, because, I heard something on the news yesterday. I remember the station talking about dealing with the heat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's
and
terrible.
they say a fan might be working against you. Because, you're just spinning the hot air.
Circulating hot air, yes.
Make it hotter. Anyway, this morning I'm giving God thanks for life and health and strength.
Mm-hmm.
This week was interesting. Tuesday was the birthday of my first granddaughter. And yesterday made 8 years since my husband passed.
Anniversary. I read it. I saw the picture that you took. I said I would comment on that, but thanks for opening the topic.
Or maybe somebody put it for me, because I can't do it for myself.
Yeah, it was
I
beautiful.
don't know who. But anyway, so I give God thanks for that. And it's good to have a God,
Definitely.
Because in the midst of all that, I lost my sight totally.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a bit on the tight side. So I give God thanks. Good morning, Journey. Now, the response last night, Wednesday night, I was listening to another station. It's Wednesday? Actually, Freedom, where they have the youth pulse or whatever.
Okay.
And the young people were discussing the matter.
Which matter?
Of the
With the Uber?
Yes.
Okay.
There were different
opinions.
way of looking at it.
Naturally.
Well, one side has competition, and we should like competition.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one way of poor people or people to make a living. And the issue came up. Maybe one imposed the thing, well, it is illegal. Now, we have to be consistent in the way we deal with what is legal and what is not illegal. I know some people are give them a chance to make some money. But it's the same thing in December. When Carnival, you can't sell one beer out of your cooler unless you have a license.
Okay.
You know that, right?
Yes, of course.
You can't sell rum or beer, any alcoholic drinks in your business until you have a liquor license.
Because?
Hello?
Because?
You can't, because it is illegal. Now, what I am saying, while the Uber is a good service, the point is, let's start with the insurance company. Well, when you go to insurance, I had a car. They always ask you, are you going to be transporting anybody for money? It determines the kind of insurance
policy
you
you covered, yeah.
So if you have a P, you would have said to the insurance company that I had no intention of transporting people for money.
Commercial gain.
Right? Mm-hmm. After which they issue you the
class
relevant insurance.
Yes.
Insurance plan. Now, if we want the Uber to continue, we will then have to, maybe the insurance companies or the government, will now have to devise a category for them. Because then they can no longer be seen as private. You understand?
I'm following you.
And that has to be taken into consideration. And the issue of the liability. Well, when you take Uber, God bless them, the liability not become yours. Any injury, any whatever. Because whether third party or comprehensive insurance, it doesn't cover you.
You're not covered.
And that to me is important, especially nowadays, every minute you hear some accident. Or the Uber drivers should seek to get some form of maybe liability insurance that will cover them and the vehicle while they're working.
Sister Henry, the question is, with those known conditions in place, how did they get their license?
But you remember, before they got the license, I recall, I think about 2020, people were on their thing advertising.
They still do.
Uber. That is why I was saying, well, if they could advertise, then the taxi men could do the same thing.
Our tariff is set by the government, right? And I know for a fact we're not hard and fast with the public. But at a time when your industry was really, really damaged, they were given license to undercut us. And people say, yes, well, taxman need to innovate this and that. And everybody was suffering. Everybody was hustling.
Yeah, they gave them
but
they gave them business license.
They gave them business license. And we question it. Who did?
Well,
And they went
easy.
from
You could
Inland
ask at
Revenue.
Inland Revenue. You could
and-
ask at Inland Revenue.
Well,
because
Mr. Gift at Inland Revenue tell me, Socrates, we do not give license. And he's correct.
how could they apply? How could they start a business?
Because the buck will be
Or is
passed
it not
around.
considered a business?
Mr. Gift, and I don't think he might be quoted, says to me, because the whole thing was up in the air, he says, Socrates, we do not give license. He's correct. So wherever the paperwork was, whatever, they just signed because he went to them for whatever. They collected.
Well, you only hope that is how it goes. But sometimes, you know, when you look back, you see the turmoil will cause. So, well, the people who drive Uber, what is their response? Because they could also make a plea for some form of covering.
You must have the adequate license for commercial gain. When we asked that question back then, when we asked that question,
it would assume to me they don't have any.
they don't. When we asked the question, the former administration said their position was, well, they already got the license, so we can't do anything about it now. That was what they said. They already got the license, so it became a legal matter. Well, as the director of tourism said, the AG will have to look at this. It's not about shutting down small enterprise.
Because those is actually what we call gypsy in St. Thomas.
Of course. But if somebody
Some
get
people
injured
don't
now.
know. In St. Thomas, the police will be by the thing chasing them.
Yes. For the same
you
reason.
go into a gypsy. That's what they're doing. Actually, they're doing gypsy work.
Mm-hmm.
So that the police is the one, whether they want it or not, who's supposed to enforce the law.
And somebody put us under the taximan and not taximen are not reliable. The same old nonsense that the scenic railway tried. Same old nonsense. We're not reliable. So they got the license to operate and just damage our industry.
But that was a political decision.
Well,
Maybe we gotta find out
when
who.
you look at who the shareholders were at the time.
I know.
Okay.
And the defense of it.
The defense of it.
Well, anyway. So I hope something will work out, you know. And maybe what some of the Uber people could do is get a taxi license.
Well,
that is the easiest way to
then,
get around it.
Then, I mean, they can still be competitive. But
Yeah,
then they
they
might
could
want to
get
have
taxi
the right rates. Then they're going to have to pay additional licensing, etc. Then they might want the right rates. Still at the same time, the taximen undercut the price of the various tours and activities. So they may fall into that category, but it's to get the taxi license. And right now, I can tell you the industry cannot take on any more drivers.
I was coming to that. I know that they're planning to, they were thinking about giving new licenses. What is the position?
Let me quote the minister.
That is, all parties. So you don't go and say, well, I didn't know that, I didn't expect that, you know? When you would have gone on the campaign platform
And
promise
what you don't know
turn
about.
out to be untenable,
Mm-hmm.
then you are made to look bad, and any move you make work against you.
Yep. Well,
So anyway, I hope things sort out.
if I may say this, in the first meeting, the first consultative meeting that the Tourism Authority and the minister had with the presidents, I thanked them for that venture because they said previously we didn't have this consultation.
Mm-hmm.
So what they said, we want to get your input, we want to consult with you before we sign off on the policy. So that's the stage we're in right now.
That's good.
Because I said to them, I'd asked the former CEO, Ms. Brown, has any feasibility study been done to determine whether or not the industry can take more drivers? She says no. So why are you bringing more drivers? They couldn't answer me.
It's a political
The approach
family.
now
All of them said the same thing.
is to consult with the industry first before they sign off. So the whole notion that I am threatening legal action, as I say, is just asinine.
You don't have to take on that. You know, some people want something positive to do.
Yes, but I put my picture on the caption. Taxi driver, not drivers.
Once you don't say your piece, you hear me?
Okay.
No matter, look, somebody will never believe what you say.
Of course.
You might as well stop apologizing just state the facts. I was not involved. I'll leave it at that. Because no matter what you say, you know, if you say, me send we kill a man and me send we him leave the house, who want to believe, and those who have evil intent against people, to believe anything. So you would have stated the facts, leave it at that.
Anyway.
Did you get the call yesterday?
I got the call yesterday, and they gave me a call to call a gentleman. I called this morning, but so I left a message. I want to let him know I'll be picking up tomorrow, not today.
Right,
so I'll call ahead again later on to clarify what time is best. I asked them how much information I can share with the public. They said, speak to the gentleman first, Mr. Julius.
Right,
and
so
from there,
you find out
we will take it.
with the state, you know, find out he was using one all the time. I didn't realize he had two.
Okay.
I was suggesting that the person we give it to should be somebody who is active. You know, not somebody just drive it. It would enable them to get to their job. You know what I mean? Work.
We're talking about motorized wheelchairs.
Yeah, motorized.
That's what we're discussing.
And good quality, too.
Good quality. And they're kind of expensive, so whoever get them should be somebody who can actually use them.
Use them.
You know?
And use them for a good purpose.
Yes.
Because there are people out there. There was a program called Community-Based Rehabilitation. Dr. Glenville Liber from Nevis is in charge of it. We were trying to help people who are disabled to be able to earn their own living. And they are provided with some of the implements they need. I'll leave it at that so people can call in.
Got you. So thank you for your contribution and for helping us understand a few things there. Are we due for next station break? Are we having a call on the line at the moment? Okay, let's go downtown and give Caesar his due and get back to the program.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust. To secure your investment, you need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us.
Flow Road to Home is life made simple. One affordable plan that gives you internet at home and mobile on the go. Constant connection anywhere and everywhere, wherever your plans may take you. Switch today and get double the data on your mobile with 60 gigs plus unlimited WhatsApp and YouTube and 400 megabits per second internet speed. Flow Road to Home internet and mobile plan. Your non-stop connection. Visit a Flow store or discoverflow.co for more info. Conditions apply.
Good morning. Welcome back to Voices. And we have a call on the line. Would we have lost a caller? Another one? Okay, caller, you feel a call back if you can. In the meantime, let me just touch this headline. And it's from Times Caribbean. Okay. Caller, you're live on Voices.
Good morning. morning, the king.
Good morning, Mr. Athlete.
Pump me.
Pombe. Born with the village, love to go to Pombe. How you doing? How did you do anything last night? You wrap up with it, darling?
Lovely, man. When I hear 1, 2, 3 drops on the roof,
Uh-huh.
I oversleep.
I tell you, pull Joan closer.
Well, you see, I will have to get you a taxi to bring Joan closer to me. How big the bed is.
I see. Beautiful.
Bed is from wall to wall, you know.
That is good. You could roll and tumble down.
Yeah, so I can't tumble off it. I put it up on the wall.
I see. Beautiful.
The last fall I was sleeping under the bed on a cocker's bag.
That's like donkey years ago. Quacker's bag still exists?
How you mean, man? Not donkey ears, no, but rabbit ears.
I see.
No.
So what's up?
Olio, what you said happened to you with posing for picture by your own transport and all of them kind of things. And what they're trying to do to you. As long as you are an MC and you could hold your audience with the joke them there you give them, some people don't like it, and so they shut up the MC and turn your way.
I see.
And the same thing with a Calypsonian. As long as you could sing exactly what took place and what is taking place and what to expect, they want to crucify you. They want you to sing Calypso with your mouth shut. And I don't know how that's going to be.
Well,
no, go ahead, talk.
I agree I'm a public figure and my image is out there. You know, people can use the photo of it, but just be accurate with what you want me to represent. If it's wrong, I have a chance to address it, I will. That's what I did.
That's right. Now, concerning the taxi business, you hear how many persons already in the taxi fraternity? What is over 500, right?
5 and
Something
change.
like that.
5 and change.
Okay, 5 and change. And you mean to say they got over 400 or something application ready to come in?
People want work.
Yeah, they want work, really? Really? But they should have other ways and means to help those people who want to come in to run taxi and still using the vehicle as a taxi. Some people might say, this style of running, working for yourself, it may not be wise economically. Now, is there any, ferry shuttle that goes up to Boardwalk from downtown? That's one question.
The times we have a shuttle in place, not you say ferry shuttle?
No, like a bus or car, whatsoever it is.
When certain ships dock at the Boardwalk end before they end, there's normally a shuttle system in place to get the guests from there downtown. Back and forth.
What I'm talking about, people want to go up Boardwalk, go shop, by Rams and all those places.
They come to the circus, they know where the taxi stand is. They take taxis from there around Bastia every day.
Okay. And then now, let me go here now. You see, okay. They want to bring in, 400 more and the 500. That is the mentality of the people them who capture the slave them or who buy the slave them from those who are selling slaves in Africa and put them in the ships, fling them in, ram them down, no room in there. But when they look, they see a gang of black people coming down to be sold, and they still buy them and fling them down in the hatch. So in the hatch was ram-packed with black people coming from Africa. That same kind of mentality still exists around here. You think it's ram-packed full up and it's still going to try in more? How are they going to get that work?
I want to be clear. I don't say that they want to. They're saying that is the reality. X amount of drivers are trying to get in. One of the reasons why we're having this consultative process is to figure out how or what can be done, or what can't be done, etc. Because underground, the reality is the industry cannot at this point in time absorb any more drivers.
It's obvious. Now, look at this here now. We got other issues in the country which should be number one priority. round the fourth land down there, just outside of Mr. Gilando's house. We know the problem around there, the road undermined
Yes,
from the sea.
that's a major project. You'd have to address it.
Okay. Now somebody go on there who don't know the situation, and whatever barrier they got on there, they want to go where they go, and then they come out and they move the barrier. Whatever, if there is no barrier, and the road breaking with them, what happened? No.
I've not been there for a while, so I don't know if there is signage in place to inform the traveling public. But if not, there should be.
All your clock they had up something wrong there. All your clock.
Okay.
I don't want to late o'clock. It's still here. I break down.
Well, I'll pass there before Monday so I can better inform the public whether there is signage in place and what it speaks to.
Yeah, that should be priority. But I can tell you something now, going. If somebody tell you, well, in the morning they're going to give you a sumptuous breakfast, a healthy breakfast with fruits and everything good food that would not affect none of your medical underlying issues. And when you go for lunch, what you see in the plate, dog and all would not eat that. Would you let them fool again for lunch and tell you come for lunch, you're going to get this?
The good book say, call nothing I made unclean, bless, and eat.
Okay then. But if you go for lunch and you meet something even worse in a plate, they should not fool you for supper in the night.
If you pay for lobster and you get crab,
they all have shell.
They all have shell.
That's the only thing they have in common.
Bless and eat.
Yeah, anyway, let me get out the way, let someone else get in, because I know other people trying to get in.
Okay.
All the best to you, King.
Much appreciated, sir. Have a still wonderful one.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Any caller there? All right, I was about to read an article. It's going to be a long one, but the takeaway is that Cuba banned from St. Kitts and Nevis CBI program amid UK and EU visa waiver revocation threats. And later down, we see the article says they list a number of countries that has been banned from the program. I'll get back to that as we take this caller. Caller, you're live on Voices. Hello there.
Yeah, I'm here. I touched something there upon the instrument.
Okay.
All right, the Uber matter.
Yes, sir.
All right. The people who don't have the inconvenience with transport, who don't have no car. God, the place full of car and full of vehicles, no people don't have none. Them say that during certain time, regular bus, taxi, whatever, not available. So Uber is rendering a service that is needed. They're feeling a void. So, and they're creative in what they're doing, so they should be part of even the creative economy. Just regulate them and bring them in. Because certain hours, nothing else is available and you can depend on an Uber. Right? Me understand the situation about the insurance thing and the accident. Sometimes we talk about accident, sometimes we look on them think there's goat mouth, because we don't want an accident. So don't bring it in, don't wish it, don't bring it, don't talk about it. But it's a reality. So therefore, fix all that too. Fix all that and make them fit in where they can fit in and be that service, that needed service for the public. Because the public need to be able to move from point A to point B at whatever hour they are stranded. No, they haven't done it just so. The regular buses and taxi, are you willing to work in any kind of hours to accommodate people when they want to go from point A to point B or from point A to point Z? Are you willing to do that? Question.
I'm trying to get a number for you. But there's a number of the taxi stand in Figure Bay. Those guys work around the clock.
Round the clock?
They work around the clock.
All right.
I think it's 465 something 17. I'm gonna get it because that's there. They never stopped.
Please appreciate often. The other thing is economics. Even if that is available, people are saying because of the spaces of some vehicle, the charges will be out of their reach, which in a who are you? I name Uber or Uber. The Uber.
Let's put it this way. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. We offer a certain level of service at a price. If you want to go and pay somebody to give you their level of service at their price, fine. But you get what you pay for. You said don't talk about accident because you go out. If you get injured in that, you have no coverage. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. So let's go to the pizza place on 4th Street because that was the guy you called to support Uber. What if I go there now and set up a pizza place right in front of him without the proper license and start to sell for half price? Would you like it?
No.
Of course not.
Of course not.
But you offer service for people who want cheaper. Isn't that? Because the price is out of reach. So you go on 4th Street, set up right next to him, selling the same item at half the price, but you don't have a license. You don't have a food handler's permit, but you're selling. So the people who buy that now and get food poisoning, who to blame? Regulations.
Yes.
There are regulations. We question how did they get their license. There's a licensing authority for public transport. They're not covered. So it's not we against them. They took advantage of whatever, and people say it's cheaper, it's better, yes, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah. So how are we going to work out? How are we going to resolve that now?
We are a rational people. What I'm saying, we are rational people. When I have to pay extra for my license, extra for my decal, extra for this, in order to operate legally, and they can operate without those measures in place, how can it be fair? How can it be fair? So the public say, well, the cheaper, the more available, and this and that and that. There's 4317, 465, 4317. And that's over the weekend, at the taxi stand in Frigate, but you call anytime, they're there. But there's a cost for everything. So if you figure you could pay $5 to go to this trip, to a party, when the fare is 10 US, and this and that, go ahead. But war sweet and goat mouse, so you can't have it both ways. So we're not trying to bash them at a time that the taxi industry was in trouble and we needed help. We were betrayed because some entity gave those folks a license because every mouth shall be fed. That's the rationale. Fine.
So you're saying that took place?
The whole timing is wrong. Was wrong. And they will come to the circus and pick up guests there because they have a number to advertise. Right in the circus, you're waiting to get a job because nothing happening, so you're hoping for a job, and they'll just drive in, take a passenger that you would have gotten at the right price, undercut you. How can that be right? So if something is to be done, it has to be done properly.
I agree.
It's not about denying people a chance to invest in their own country. It has to be done properly.
Okay, well, we hope them and those who concerned, well, it concern the public too.
Every much shall be fed. Of course.
Blah, blah, boom, boom.
Of course.
But, go ahead, I'm listening.
I say, of course, because they would benefit, right?
Yes.
There are times that, okay, one example. Some guests come, I'm sure to Portante. They want a tour. We give them the right price. Oh, that's expensive. They go on the bus stop. And the bus driver is not qualified, trained to give them a proper tour. They drop them off here and there and they come back and they make a report. They had a bad experience. You didn't come through us. You get what you pay for. And they give the whole country a black eye because their rating the experience has been negative. But you didn't go with the trained and qualified drivers. You went and you paid next to nothing. So you got next to nothing. You get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm. So, okay then. So that's what we're going to say. We hope them and those who may concern within the authoritative position take all these things into consideration and set it right.
And take this point,
even though listen, we are still concerned about not talking about tourists, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the local people.
Our people, yes.
We don't want to go for the tourist thing with Uber, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the local people were stranded at times and they want to go reach to the yard or they want to reach where they want to reach.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay then. So, with those people in mind, we understand the plight. So, we hope we can...
I have an next point to give you before you go. I have an next point, if you permit me.
Yes. Yes.
While some taxi drivers are dependent solely on the taxi trade, some of these very same drivers are employed. They have their jobs.
They are employed differently.
Yes, and use their private vehicle to do the taxi trade on the cutters and say, well, we're too expensive. They're employed.
So something looks spiteful there.
They have their jobs, but they take their private vehicle and take advantage of the loophole, which is not legal. So the taximan down in the circus waiting for a job at the right place, paying the right license, the right taxes, etc., can get a job. Somebody who's employed, drive through, Uber, they go for half the price. You can't have it both ways. Let them put the proper regulation, or let them come up to the regulation and get in the industry that way. Because if you're concerned about our people, if you're concerned about our people's safety, it's not calling goat mouth. These things happen.
No, listen to me now. I am concerned about my people's safety.
Everybody.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And I use the goat mouth.
We're not calling for accidents in them. We're not calling for that. We're saying, should it happen in a taxi, you're covered. Should it happen in those you're not covered. You're on your own.
Understand? We just have to do while nothing happens.
Nothing at all.
But you're saying that it can happen.
You get what you pay for.
Can happen. In the context where we use the goat mouth because we don't want nothing happen. You know?
I understand
you. You understand fully what you're saying.
Definitely.
And put it together because it needs to be resolved. Just like other things that we need to resolve and move forward and thing like that, you know?
And I appreciate you standing up for... I appreciate you standing up for the people who may not have a voice, but letting you the full story so when you come to represent them, you represent them in a manner that you're well informed.
Yes, understand. Even if we get the full story, while represented, it don't matter. It's still we know what is the word? We head is not a coconut shell, but a coconut. We got a brain in it. So when we see we are reason, you know. I mean, listen to what you're saying now.
Definitely.
And other people, we are reason for thousands, you know. Remember, you are reason. Your voice is for thousands. My voice is for thousands.
I hear you.
We are reason. So, yeah, it come out. You know what I mean? So, even when it come out now, we have all these things in the...
A better understanding.
In the mix.
A better understanding.
We have all these things in the mix. Yes.
Respect. We got about 2 minutes before we wrap up. We have time for this call if there's anyone in line. Okay, when I come back, I'm going to address the CBI issue because that's very current. I'm happy to note that the price for a passport has increased from 150,000 to 250,000. And we'll speak about Cuba being removed from that list of countries that would benefit from our CBI program. And I've said before in song, when you let your enemy tell you who your friend can be, you got a problem. Cuba has been a friend to our federation going back so much. They've done so much for us. But then, because we are not own bosses, we're talking about going to be a republic. We depend so much on the CBA program. They demand certain countries be removed from that list of countries that would benefit. Sadly, our friend, Cuba, happens to be one of them. At this point, we break to entertain the Win FM midday newscast. We will be right back after.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured. Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king. Please drink responsibly.
With the Win FM Midday News, I am Kevon Brown. Our top stories: police responding to suspected drowning of 8-year-old child. Water Minister says prospects looking good for well drilling in Keon. Agriculture Permanent Secretary raises awareness on the value of women's work in agriculture. 3 juveniles identified in connection with malicious damage on F.T. Williams Highway. St. Lucia Prime Minister blames irresponsible statements about crime situation for French travel advisory. Guyana says it will respect an international decision on indigenous Carib community residing in Mining Village. Internationally, former U.S. President Donald Trump is accused of pressuring an employee to delete security footage at his Florida home in new criminal charges related to his alleged mishandling of classified files. Now the details. WIN has been made aware of a suspected drowning in St. Paul's on July 28th. The police shared that they are responding to a report of a suspected drowning of an 8-year-old child in a swimming pool at St. Paul's. More details on this when information becomes available. Work to secure potable water for the people of Keon continues. The well drilling in Cabbage Tree is being undertaken by Bedrock Exploration Development Technologies, BEAD, St. Kitts Limited, contracted by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. In a Facebook post, the Water Minister, the Honourable Conris Maynard, said prospects are looking very good to return to regular supply of water for Keon and surrounding areas in the not-too-distant future. The success of drilling will be determined through testing, which would check for chemicals, pathogens, and other contaminants that may be in the water, and if any elements in the water are present in dangerous quantities. The Water Minister previously reported that the government is also working on locating and digging for other wells around the island. Minister Maynard further wrote that the amount of water from Royal Utilities at the St. Kitts Marriott to the Frigate Bay Southeast Peninsula area would be increased to 400,000 gallons of water in a few weeks. Additionally, a 2 million gallon desalination plant that will cost the government between $10 to $14 million was approved by the Procurement Board, and those 2 million gallons are expected to help resolve some issues with water, especially for the Bastia area. Women are integral players in the country's sustainable development and should not be excluded from the conversation about the 25 by 25 agenda, which is geared towards reducing the food import bill. In dialogue with CARICOM officials, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Miguel Fleming, praised the Federation's Women in Agriculture and declared that efforts are being made locally to ensure gender equity within the sector.
We are so comfortable giving women their roses without feeling any type of way, so that's a good thing. But women is definitely important, and in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have recognized that women, they're more reliable. And, when you look at record keeping and all those different type of things as it relates to farming, you can guarantee you can go to a woman and she'll have everything documented, as opposed to some of the male farmers that don't have anything to show. They just buy and they sell and those type of things. Women like to know how they are spending their money, right? And they want to make sure that whatever they're into, that they're really benefiting from it. So what we have done, right, is that we have made a commitment that when we launch our greenhouse villages, that the ratio for distribution is going to be equal. So if we distribute 50, 25 must go to women, because we believe actually that majority of the success would be because we have women involved in these initiatives.
As it relates to the local agro-processing industry, women in particular have been adding value to farm produce by utilizing agro-processing techniques. By extension, local women have developed their culinary inventions of juices, jams, jellies, and snacks, from homemade delicacies to products for sale at various retail enterprises, some through the application of unique processing, customized packaging, and labeling.
When we look at the producing, and we want to look at entrepreneurs and diversification basically into agro-processed goods, we can definitely depend on women again to ensure that we have new products from the raw materials in agriculture. So I think they are very important, and they add a lot of diversity to agriculture, and I believe we should continue to empower women and ensure that they're involved in not just taking us to 2025, but 2025 and beyond.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, agriculture officials seek to raise awareness of the value of women in the sector with focus on skill improvement and access to financing. In May, two of the Federation's businesswomen, Miss Wilma Hutchinson and Miss Haida Tyson, graduated from the Global Green Growth Institute Greenpreneurs Incubator Program and won a sizable grant to assist them with their business ventures in food production. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force have identified 3 young men seen in footage released by the police committing multiple instances of malicious damage to passing vehicles along the F.T. Williams Highway between July 15, 2023 and July 21, 2023. The 3 males, all juveniles, were brought to the Bastia Police Station by their guardians on July 26th and July 27, 2023, respectively. They were interviewed in their guardian's presence and released into their guardian's custody. Their cases will be heard at a later date by the Child Justice Board. In regional news, St. Lucia Prime Minister blames irresponsible statements about crime situation for French travel advisory. DBS St. Lucia has that story.
The French Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a travel advisory cautioning its citizens about the deteriorating security situation in St. Lucia. The advisory, which was published on July 3rd, states that there is a noticeable increase in the rate of homicides, particularly by firearms. It went on to say that no part of the island is now spared from crime, citing an alarming increase in shootings and murderous settling of scores in Vieux-Fort, Castries, Grosley, and various parts of the island. In the publication, French citizens were asked to exercise vigilance in all places and in all circumstances, and to avoid certain isolated areas, particularly in the northern part of the island and in the disadvantaged neighborhoods of the country. At a press conference on Wednesday, July 26, Prime Minister Philippe Pierre was questioned about the advisory. At the time, he indicated that he had no knowledge of it.
When that happened?
There was some advisory sometime last week.
I've not been informed.
The Prime Minister, however, did indicate that if this is the case, it is not good news for the country. He expressed his opinion about how media reports on crime could affect the international perception of the country. The Prime Minister has previously expressed concerns about the manner in which crimes are being reported in the local media. A fatal shooting at the Rodney Bay Marina last month prompted a request from the St. Lucia Tourism Authority for sensitivity in reporting the incident. The travel advisory issued by the French authorities did mention that places usually peaceful and frequented by tourists and expatriates are also being affected by the increased level of violence and homicides.
There are certain things that have to be within a certain context. Now, we have a right to report crime. We have a right to report it. It's the press's right to report crime. But there are consequences when the will hears about your country being a war zone.
Prime Minister Philippe Pierre has also chastised the opposition for what he says are irresponsible comments being made over the airwaves about the situation on the island.
The leader of the opposition goes over and says St. Lucia is unsafe. People are afraid. 10,000 people were here for Christmas, for Carnival. More than 15 were here for jazz. 15,000 were here for jazz. More than 10 were here for Carnival. People are here as we speak now. People are here from England having a reunion in St. Lucia. And you say St. Lucia people are afraid to go out into this country? Now, when you say these kind of things, if people don't know who you are, they may believe you. But this is destructive. So you can't blame anybody if they want to react. When you can be so that's not an opinion, you know. That's irresponsible because the evidence doesn't show it.
The French authorities have been closely involved in assisting the St. Lucian government in security matters. Over the past year, there has been a strengthening of the cooperation between the two parties. In December last year, a St. Lucian delegation headed by the Prime Minister and Martinique officials met at the 8th session of the Franco-St. Lucian Joint Security Commission in Fort de Force, Martinique. The two parties pledged to deal with a range of cross-border concerns with the aim of developing and implementing anti-crime strategies for the benefit of both countries. For the DBS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
Guyana says it will respect an international decision on indigenous Carib community residing in Mining Village. Guyana News source has that report.
Vice President Barbara Jagdeo today said the government will respect the ruling of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, which granted precautionary measures in favor of the indigenous Carib community of Chinese Landing, who it said are at serious risk of suffering irreparable harm to their human rights. Mr. Jagdeo made a disclosure today while announcing further that the government will send a multi-stakeholder team into Chinese Landing to assess the situation. The indigenous community located in Region 1 has been facing a number of issues related to illegal mining and the breach of the rights of their people under the Amerindian Act.
We intend to respect the ruling of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. So we are going to once again send in another team to visit the area And that would be a multifaceted team dealing with environment, social issues, mining rights, everything, to meet with the community.
In its July 21st decision, the International Human Rights Group called on the Guyana government to take the necessary measures to protect the rights to life and personal integrity of the indigenous people living in Chinese landing, with a cultural, gender-based, and age-appropriate perspective to prevent threats, harassment, and other forms of violence against the residents. Guyana has 20 days to inform the Commission on the adoption of the precautionary measures. According to the Vice President, a report will be completed based on the visit to Chinese landing and submitted to the international group. He also told reporters that the government of Guyana is equally concerned about the issues faced by the people of Chinese landing.
The community is our primary concern, and we believe that any transgressions there of a social, environmental, mining nature should be penalized heavily. We share that view.
The Vice President was keen to note that it was the government, through the Guyana-Georgian Mines Commission, that issued a cease work order to Wayne Vera back in 2010 due to a breach of the Amerindian Act. He said the Caribbean Court of Justice, however, overturned the order, ruling in favor of the miner in 2017.
So we had stopped mining in this village effectively, saying you have to comply with the Amerindian Act. That was the government's position. The Caribbean Court of Justice, the apex court, has ruled against us. And so we had to lift the cease order.
Jagdeo said the government had granted residents of Chinese landing land to mine. However, the community continues to face issues related to illegal mining outside of the issue involving Vera. According to the International Human Rights Group, residents of Chinese landing have reportedly faced repetitive incidents of threats and harassment, including death threats. The group is a principal and autonomous body of the Organization of American States, whose mandate stems from the OAS Charter and the American Convention on Human Rights. The Inter-American Commission has the mandate to promote the observance and defense of human rights in the region, and acts as an advisory body to the OAS on the matter.
We now bring you these international reports.
The former U.S. President Donald Trump is facing 3 new charges over his handling of classified documents after he left the White House. Federal prosecutors filed an indictment on Thursday evening, superseding formal federal charges made in June, to which Trump has pleaded not guilty. Mr. Trump and 2 of his employees at his Florida estate, Mar-a-Lago, have been charged with obstructing the investigation into the former president's retention of top-secret documents. Court files claim employees were asked to delete camera footage recordings of the basement where classified documents had been stored after they'd been served a subpoena to produce the footage. Mr. Trump's campaign has responded to the new charges, calling it a, quote, desperate and flailing attempt by the government to harass him. On Thursday, Trump's lawyers also reportedly met with federal prosecutors in the investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election. A potential indictment in that case is still looming. Well, our North America correspondent Sean Dilley reports from Washington.
The latest charges relate entirely to the existing court case in Florida, alleging that the former president had retained top-secret documents after leaving office. Now, those are said to have included defense information. Mr. Trump had already been told he would be facing trial for this next May. His aide, Walt Nauta, had already been named as a co-defendant, and it's alleged that he and another employee, Mar-a-Lago property manager Carlos de Oliveira, who's been named as a new defendant in this case, are being charged with obstructing investigators. In plain terms, the prosecution is claiming that both of Mr. Trump's employees worked on his behalf to destroy evidence. These are just allegations for now, but prosecutors say that having spoken to Walt Nauta last summer, Mr. de Oliveira attempted to pressurise an IT worker to delete CCTV footage of a storage room where documents were stored. Now, this was said to be 2 days after a subpoena was served for that footage. Mr. Trump and Mr. Naughton had already pleaded not guilty to the other charges in this case. A statement by the Trump campaign after the charge described the allegations as more than a continued desperate and flailing attempt by what he called the Biden crime family and their Department of Justice to harass President Trump and those around him.
Benji Heyer from Feature Story News spoke to the BBC earlier about these new charges Trump is facing.
These charges in and of themselves are not a surprise, but the timings of them are, because this revised indictment accuses Trump's staff of conspiring to delete security footage that the Department of Justice had asked for. One staff member, it's claimed, texted another that the boss, aka Donald Trump, had requested that that footage be deleted. Of course, if the Department of Justice, which is leading this investigation, has proof of that exchange, it's very difficult for Donald Trump to claim this is some sort of shock, despite him protesting his innocence. This revised indictment that came out on Thursday evening also alleges that Donald Trump spoke with biographers who were meeting him at one of his private residences, revealing to them what he calls a big pile of papers, material, including classified information about attacking a foreign country, reportedly Iran. That conversation was recorded. We've heard the tapes. Again, not particularly a surprise then that the Department of Justice would decide to move ahead based on that evidence. What did take people, I guess, by surprise in Washington, D.C. On Thursday was the fact that most of our attention was on a completely different investigation at the time, looking into Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election that he lost. A bunch of reporters, including myself, camped out outside a courtroom awaiting an indictment by a grand jury. And so this new development regarding the classified documents trumping, if you will, that news, and I think it goes to show, it reinforces that it's really quite hard to keep up with the many compounding legal challenges that Donald Trump is trying to battle as he vies for the Oval Office again.
Where now for the Tel Aviv protesters? After 30 weeks of this, they've failed to stop Parliament passing legislation which weakens the Supreme Court's ability to check the power of the executive.
We had a very successful country, very happy country, democratic country, and now we're going to lose all of that.
What do you think is the risk for this country?
That the religious people will rule, and we want a liberal Israel.
These generally secular and liberal Israelis still make up around half the 9 million population. But they find themselves with the most right-wing government in Israel's history. Chuck Freilich is a former national security advisor. He says Israelis have ignored a series of issues that have bubbled up over decades, and that includes the occupation of the West Bank.
One is this whole judicial reform. I call it a judicial wrecking ball. It's the rise of the ultra-Orthodox, and it's also the Palestinian issue, which is reaching an inflection point. There are some who maintain that separation is irreversible, a two-state solution is no longer viable, and others who say, well, we're near that point, and I think what you see is liberal Israel saying, well, wait a minute, we're afraid that we are near that point and we don't want to reach it. And that's why these three different issues have converged and created this eruption.
And Israel's military says there's been an increase in requests from reservists to abstain from duty. This, it says, will gradually damage war readiness if it carries on. Even this has left the government unmoved.
It is extraordinarily dangerous, and I think most people are, even people who support this as a sort of last resort, are deeply, deeply worried about the ramifications, because Israel does face serious threats, whether it's Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and how do we handle that? And other people saying, well, there is a higher morality at the moment.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says these protesters are trying to thwart his democratic mandate. What he calls legal reforms will, he says, balance government branches.
And there'll be more battles in the months ahead. The Supreme Court has been petitioned to strike down a law that weakens its ability to strike down laws. there you have a potential constitutional crisis. These protesters say they're here to stay. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Tel Aviv.
From a show of force by Meta to pink power at the box office, this is the week in numbers. $32 billion was the revenue at Meta in the second quarter. That was better than expected, with the Facebook owner smashing rivals like Google on ad sales. It also predicted robust growth ahead, with one analyst calling it monster guidance. 0.25 percentage point was the rate hike by the Fed and ECB. The moves were widely expected, with the focus on clues to what happens next. Fed Chair Jerome Powell wasn't giving much away though, and nor was ECB Chief Christine Lagarde.
Could be a hike, could be a pause.
$56.2 billion was the quarterly revenue at Microsoft, also beating targets. But the day after that news was out, shares in the tech giant fell sharply. Traders were alarmed by warnings that costs were soaring as it spent big to build AI systems. 56% was the slump in profits at oil giant Shell, with rival Total Energies not doing much better. Boom times appear to be over for energy firms as oil and gas prices cool off. And $162 million was the opening weekend box office for Barbie in US and Canadian movie theaters. That made it the biggest debut of 2023.
This is a matter of life and death.
With atomic bomb epic Oppenheimer also doing good business, it all spelled relief for struggling cinema chains.
You were listening to the Midday News on WINNFM 98.9. The headlines: police responding to suspected drowning of 8-year-old child. Water Minister says prospects looking good for well drilling in Keon. Agriculture Permanent Secretary raises awareness on the value of women's work in agriculture. 3 juveniles identified in connection with malicious damage on F.T. Williams Highway. St. Lucia Prime Minister blames irresponsible statements about crime situation for French travel advisory. Guyana says it will respect an international decision on indigenous Carib community residing in Mining Village. Internationally, former U.S. President Donald Trump is accused of pressuring an employee to delete security footage at his Florida home in new criminal charges related to his alleged mishandling of classified files. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International. By land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WIN FM.
Running July 27 to August 9.
And during the month of August, the more you shop, the more you save.
You get double points on all meats and non-grocery items, so shop today.
Now, our Value Club Blue Tax specials. Wishbone salad dressings, $11.99. Pringles chips, $8.49. Essential Everyday Grated Parmesan cheese, $11.99. Essential Everyday fries, $13.99. Bortoli pasta sauces, $14.49. Renew's adjustable air freshener, $7.49. And now our very low weekly
value deals. Kraft barbecue sauce, $7.49. Bumblebee chunk like tuna water and oil, $4.49. Peter Pan peanut butter, $12.89. Pearl pancake mix, $10.99. Planters cheese balls and curls, $9.99. Soft soap liquid hand soap, $4.99. Shop smart, shop value mart, and get double points rewards today.
Recuerde, durante el mes de agosto va a recibir puntos dobles cuando compra todo tipo de carne y artículos no comestibles. Venga, sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en
Value Mart.
Good afternoon. We're back with the second half of Voices, having had the WINNMedia newscasts and the weather updates. We're ready to rumble in the second half of the program today. And let's see, Chris Collins, good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. And Jacqueline, of course, you too. There's an article I want to touch on that deals with the challenges for the CBA program. And before the news break, I mentioned that the Cuba is one of the countries that were mentioned in the ban program. Nations banned from SKN CBI program. There were some adjustments that had to be made, but let me just list before we go into more detail. These nations are Afghanistan, Belarus, Cuba, Iran, Iraq, North Korea, and Russia. And why we speak about Cuba? Because of the relationship we've had, speaking about the Federation of St. Christopher Nevis that we've had, very cordial, very friendly, very helpful to our various causes. We have had many students who are getting scholarships from Cuba. and they're on the list. Cuba banned from St. Kitts. I'm going to go back to the generic article and give you more detail as to what's happening with that, the adjustments that had to be made by the Prime Minister in order to accommodate to mitigate the threats being forced on the countries that has been threatened by the UK and the EU countries. Let's see what the headline says. And this is an article from Times Caribbean. St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Drew implements immediate changes to citizenship by investment program in a desperate bid to avert looming threats of visa waiver revocation by the UK and the EU. Times Caribbean Online. In a bid to avert looming threat to visa waiver revocation by the UK and the EU by the end of 2023, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew of St. Kitts and Nevis has taken swift action by announcing significant changes to the country's citizenship by investment (CBI) program. The urgency to secure visa-free access to the territories of the UK and the EU has prompted the government to make overnight alterations to its CBI product, causing ripples and shocks in the Caribbean citizenship market. Merely a month ago, the government probably introduced a limited time offer, LTO, investment option, starting at a minimum investment of USD 150,000 for a single applicant. However, recent events have forced a sudden shift in strategy following the UK's brash announcement of potentially revoking visa-free access to Caribbean CBI participating countries. St. Kitts and Nevis has backtracked on its LTO promise and raised the investment price for a single applicant to $250,000 USD. This bold move is aimed at persuading the UK and EU to reconsider their stance on the visa waiver revocation and showcases the country's commitment to maintaining its position in the Caribbean CBI market. Nevertheless, the unexpected changes have caught many stakeholders by surprise, and the impact on the demand of St. Kitts and Nevis CBI program remains to be seen. As the situation unfolds, the government's decision to increase the investment threshold reflects the urgency of the matter and the critical importance of the CBI program to the nation's economic stability. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew announcements marks a pivotal moment in the country's effort to secure a standing in the global citizenship market amidst the challenging external pressure. And so once again, the countries listed or countries mentioned that would be removed from the list, amongst them Cuba. And that has raised some angst with some people in the Federation. But as I said before, when you let your enemies tell you who your friends can be, they own you. Fact is, we are very much dependent. I wonder if Dr. Kennedy Simmons and his administration, when they envisioned, because they were the first in the world to implement this program, if they ever envisioned that we'd be at this stage, of course, they could not see that far in the future. One of the programs that they didn't invest in or initiate to assist us when we just achieved independence. Later on, of course, it was put on steroids by other administrations and has been the main economic engine of growth for the Federation. Other islands would have followed. We would hear of Dr. Ralph Gonsalves in St. Vincent saying he would never have done that and warning about what it could portend for these countries. To a very large extent, he said, and he made the case, it's not sustainable. And we've had some concerns about a year ago about the amount of passports we were told were being sold in exchange for the building of a prison, 5,500 passports they mentioned. My thing on that, because I did question a lawyer and ask him, can these people vote? He was unsure whether having our passports that they could vote. So the case is, what if? Let's go hypothetically. Okay, we'll get back to that. Let's see what this caller have to contribute. Good day, caller. You're live on Voices.
Hi, the King. Good afternoon.
Blessed day to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Giving thanks for life. And good afternoon to those listeners home and abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I myself, I have not got privy to that information as yet because it's probably just new.
Which information?
But
about what I just read about the Cuba being removed from yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole I know something was in the mix because you know, I would have heard that the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, would have gone off to deal with this matter here, along with his other colleagues. Right? But my question, the King, because it is not a surprise that Cuba would have come under the gun, so to speak, and look at the category that Cuba is being, you know, lumped in. But be that as it may. Yeah, my question to you, the King,
Yeah, Russia, because there have been a long-time alliance between Cuba and Russia.
Yes. And then within this hemisphere now, within this hemisphere and the influence, well, in the minds of the U.S. and the UK and those others, because it's not only the U.S. alone, you know, it's the UK, Canada,
and the EU,
and the European Union. They're all in this thing together.
Quite so.
And in the minds of, you know, they're trying to stop the expansion of BRICS and the influence of BRICS and the new upcoming emergent economy. Yes, I know that Cuba would have been in. But for us in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have known that the Cuban doctors has done a tremendous job at our hospital and well needed. And even our Prime Minister himself has went on to school there and have graduated from the Cuban alumni, you know, in terms of his his medical profession.
Yes.
I am asking, I don't have a privy, I don't have any monopoly on information, so Mrs. Henry and Ira McMahon and others who are listening, I'm assuming they're listening, could fill in the space, the blank spaces for me in terms of my question, my curiosity. Is this going to affect the doctors from Cuba, or it just only relates to the CBI?
The travel.
Some Cubans who really want the
travel
citizenship by
access.
investment.
The travel access to
what
the.
How would it affect we retaining doctors from Cuba and other professionals who help us, assist us in our state-of-the-art, or potential state-of-the-art, like medical facilities that is, you know, in the pipeline? These are some of the questions, because you see how things has happened, and one has to give. And even though in the OECS, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not a part of the CPI program, I still don't think that Ralph Gonzalez should speak the way he speaks. In terms of solidarity, because this is the open door, or the open window, or the back door, which they will come in by hearing one of us speaking the way, not with solidarity, because you're not a part of it. Lo and behold, St. Vincent is trying to fast forward with the marijuana industry, and they would need solidarity, because if anything we do down here, they're going to attack us.
Got
we
your point.
have seen the case with Antigua with the gambling system.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
You
got
know?
your point.
So leaders have to be very, very, very careful with the way they speak. Even though they might have a point, it's all good. but don't come and say, "Oh, you see." You know what I mean?
I told you so.
You're asking, you're wondering if the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Dr. Kennedy Simon, if he would have contemplated this coming this way. But it was a stroke of ingenuity, ingenious. It was a brilliant move. Those in high places know that. Wow. Some small Caribbean Prime Minister has come up with such an ingenious
The
plan.
first in the world, as a matter of fact.
So
Orders.
let it not be seen that we don't have our ideas and things to really give impetus to our growth in terms of economy and whatever. Hey, what goes on after might be a matter for discussion. But that was, like they said, brain drain in the Caribbean.
Oh, yes.
We have seen where the European nation has employed, has hired, has wooed, has lured our people into their space for their ingenuity, for their innate ability to do things, to come up with brilliant ideas in terms of invention and all of these things, the King. So this is the simple question I'm asking. I hope it will not affect our the help, thanks to the Cuban doctors that would have come here and assist us. And even some of those countries would have been assisted by the Cuban doctors because they have something that is to be emulated by the world over. Their medical facilities. It is the state of the art, as small as they are. And we know the contribution of Cuba. So, it's very ironic to see that, we had also throw Cuba under the bus to allow our CBI to still be floated, and these people are not going to give up. They're going to be relentless. And the more we be segmented and feel like we are in isolation and we could get up and speak, those in high places like prime ministers, like Mr. Ralph Gonzalez, wait, your marijuana program going to be under the gun just like any other thing.
The point you raised regarding PM Gonzalez, how do you think the region should respond to the diplomatic foray between Jamaica and the U.S. right now?
In one accord. Say no, because Africa first, the Caribbean next. Because Africa, the bigger brother, they would not get anything over our big brother anymore. And we have to make sacrifices. If our big brother say this, not that we are creating another hegemonic system, not that we are creating another new colonial power. In terms of, we emulating the African space. No. But Big
is the
Brother
right thing to do.
Has the resources to absorb a lot of endogenous shocks. But we will have to make sacrifices. If the African leaders are saying no to this LGBT or whatever other thing, likewise the Caribbean leaders should say no. 110%.
So here's a question.
I have grown up with persons who,
of course,
the King, we all know.
They live amongst us. Of course
we don't
not.
disdain them.
Of course not.
We don't disdain them. They're family members. Sometimes we don't disdain that. But the ideology, I have seen it even in the African space where the Gambia, where you have these rich old folks, male, goes to the Gambia because they have the wherewithal in terms of the money. They woos those little 13 and 14-year-old girls. Oh, man. And have them as like sex slaves.
Yep.
That cannot be right. The same thing applies to this LGBT thing. Woos in the young youth. And the King, the Rastaman had called and talked about the Catholic way of life in terms of the bishops, the priests, and how they did. I shall deal with that matter and another matter another time.
Okay.
Jatut had called and talked about Catholicism. I have some information here that I shall dispense and bring to the fore some other time. Thanks for listening.
Much appreciated. And we go back to the phone lines. There's another caller on the line. Caller, you're welcome to the program.
Yeah, man. Good afternoon, man. How you doing, man?
I'm splendid. I'm okay. All the above is good. What about you?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay.
I wanted to find out something from you, right? Was there like an outside force or source, that made Sinkis and Nevis started the CBI program? I did hear you mention Dr. Kennedy Simmons just started this program, but
it was directly upon after we attained independence. Directly to 1983 when we attained independence, one of the programs that the then Dr. Simmons administration implemented to generate economic growth in the country.
For those persons who wasn't in touch with this, with what the happenings in Sinkis and Nevis, and who's seeking this knowledge.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can get him to come on the program?
and get Dr. Simmons? No, I think he'll be on the
program, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seeing that this is a brand new news item and there is so much things to sift through.
Yeah.
And I don't see you guys bringing the Prime Minister to your programs. He's always going on.
I'm too small. As a matter of fact, he goes to. Let me tell you something, right? At one point in time, WINNFM was more like the voice of the opposition. All the folks came here to WINNFM when they were campaigning, right? I recall two ministers advising the public not to listen to WINNFM because it's where the people listen to.
Get that knowledge.
Right.
For us,
so
for one point, for a long stretch of time, me myself, I was out of touch with this stuff. So I don't have some of that knowledge, I'm seeking to get that.
Okay, here's what. I think very shortly there's a program on where Dr. Simmons will be featured on a program called The Road to Independence. The Road to Independence, I saw it advertised on Facebook, and so I don't know exactly when, but it's out there. I don't know if there'll be entertaining calls from the public.
Okay, but real quickly, right? This new communique that came out, was that coming from the EU nation or that's coming from the United States? Because I heard on another radio station that might have been coming from the USA.
The article speaks of it coming from the EU. Remember the USA had the issue with it some time ago? But
so somewhere along the line,
they collaborate. They collaborate.
Somebody ain't got it right. Because another radio station said it was coming from the USA this morning, and Patches last night said it was a communique from the EU nations.
From what I have here,
we're trying to get this stuff right, man.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I don't see how the EU, when we look at the history, man, from colonization come on up to now, those EU countries, man, they didn't give back to the Caribbean islands and the Western Hemisphere. To me, this is my opinion. They was just reaping out the benefits and we produced so much cotton and sugar cane and stuff like that, but we didn't have our infrastructure put into place. And now that these islands found a way to generate income for themselves through that CBI programs, now they're coming back at us, trying to dictate to us what to do with our own country and our own programs. I don't see how the CARICOM region and the OES islands can really listen to these people, bro. I mean, why don't these guys get together and just as well as they impose visa restrictions on us, how come we can't impose visa restrictions on them?
Great point.
You know what I'm saying?
In Africa, they have removed the visa restrictions, so the old nationals, you can now travel throughout Africa freely. Prior to a couple of years ago, you had to have a visa.
We have built so much diplomatic relationships with the countries in Africa there. Like me, myself, man, last year I was able to travel to Ghana without requiring a visa because I was able to use my Sinkis Nevis passport for entry there.
There you go.
And I don't see how the black leaders in the Caribbean they don't want to do what's best for them, man, because the EU nations are going to back the Caribbean into a corner because if they're restricted and can't travel to these EU countries and they're dependent on them foreign forces for food like that, the food import. You know, we have to pay attention because we're going to have to get up to speed in providing food for our own selves because and when you analyze this thing closely, if they back us into a corner and we depend on them for food and we can't, and they blockade us and stuff like that and sanctions on us, you know, we will not be able to get food from them. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to provide food for our own selves as a start.
And if you turn to
and
Cuba,
then we figure some
if
of
you
this
turn
stuff
to
out
Cuba
because-
for assistance, then you're called a communist.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So before you go really quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Prime Minister traveled to Brussels. Him, Antigua Prime Minister, and the Dominica Prime Minister, they went there. And when they came back, they put the restrictions on Dominica. And then the Prime Minister now has said that he's going to be traveling back to Europe many times. But he didn't mention if the foreign minister is going to travel with him, Denzel Douglas, who has more experience in this field. You know what I'm saying? So what would make him think that his efforts going to be successful in stopping these people from imposing that visa restriction in St. Kitts and Nevis? And I need some of the callers to talk to this, man.
All right, appreciate that.
Yeah, all right, okay. And they need to link up with Africa, man. Because Africa got what we need. We don't need the EU nations, bro.
Africa have what the world
thanks
needs.
a lot, man.
All right.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good day, man.
Thank you. At this point in time, we're going to pause to give credit to our sponsors. We're going to have time to give Caesar his due. And when we get back, we'll continue the discussion on the visa restriction issue.
Get ready for the biggest sales event of the year. It's the Horsewood Furniture and Appliances major sales event where we're slashing prices by 20% off on all major appliances. Are you looking for amazing deals on refrigerators, stoves, large appliances, washing machines, and even microwaves? Well, look no further. From the latest models to top brands, Horsewood Furniture and Appliances has it all at unbeatable prices. Whether you're upgrading your kitchen or replacing old appliances, this is the perfect opportunity to get major savings and save big. These deals won't last forever. This is a limited time opportunity to snag the appliance of your dreams at 20% off and get double cashback coupons with every purchase. Don't miss out. The Horsewood Furniture and Appliances major appliances sales event where quality meets affordability. Don't miss out on the biggest discounts on refrigerators, stoves, large appliances, washing machines, and microwaves. Hurry in today and make your home a major delight. Major savings, major discounts, 20% off on major appliances, plus double cash back for free groceries. Happening now at Horsewood Furniture and Appliances. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details. Riddle this, riddle that. Horsewood Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Store is again giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars in cashback for free groceries with every hire purchase. Will be given back this coupon season. Happening now. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in cashback coupons to all our hire purchase customers this coupon season. Starting now until December 2023. You get absolutely free groceries with every hire purchase at our Horsewood Furniture and Appliances stores on St. Kitts Nevis and our Ashley Home Store on St. Kitts. So riddle this. Where can you get quality furniture and appliances at great prices with a flexible FlexPlay plan and with absolutely free groceries with every hire purchase? Riddle that. Cashback at Horsewood Furniture and Appliances on St. Kitts Nevis and our Ashley Home Store on St. Kitts. Riddle this, riddle that. Horsewood Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Store is giving you over $250,000 in cashback and a chance to win free groceries for a year. Riddle that cashback. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
We're back with the program, and we go straight to the phone lines. Caller, you're live on Voices. Oh, what a miserable caller. Okay. Caller, you're now live on Voices.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm okay, sir.
Okay. I want to touch on this CBA thing and based on some of the comments that people are making. When, without this war with Ukraine, Russia was whose biggest friend? The UK and Europe with all those oligarchs with Russian money, living in them, buying big houses, owning football clubs, etc.
That is true.
This war, this proxy war with Ukraine and Russia, have turned the whole thing upside down, and the rest of the world, these small islands, are now forced to say, we can't take Russians. But they have their Russians while they hold on to the Russians' money. They didn't send back the Russians' money to Russia. They're holding on Russia's money for their benefit, while we have to toe the line. I hear the conversation about Cuba, but a lot of us are very short-minded and our memory goes not too deep. In the 80s, under an independent thinking, there were people who trained in Cuba who couldn't work and use their profession as doctors in thinkers because they were trained in Cuba, all because of the relationship between the U.S. and say Cuba was the worst and should not be friends with them. So for us now to be so, give this knee-jerk reaction that because the Prime Minister of the country is putting Cuba on the list, it's a new thing. Thinkers had always had a policy when USA frowned on Cuba to do the same thing. It's not new.
That is true.
We could call names of doctors and persons who trained in Cuba in the 80s who couldn't work properly in thinkers because of it. So let's not pretend that this is something new. Thinkers and navies. And somebody asked about travel. Do you know the U.S. have the same program for years in Europe? And when they go to the U.K. or the U.S., they could travel anywhere in the world. So why our CBI friends that become part of our citizens can't travel to those places when they take Chinese, everybody else, and they could travel anywhere in the world? But because they don't like these islands to be independent and not have to beg them, that's the reason why this is happening. But there are those people in St. Kitts and Nevis who love it because, oh, well, it's not my government. But it's all St. Kitts and Nevis who is feeling the squeeze when people rejoice for it. We need to stop it and see the bigger picture.
I think anybody who will take the stance that is not my government and rejoice over this, I don't know what their thinking would be. Because we are really very polite.
It doesn't matter, my friend, who's in power. Because when these big countries act, they don't care. Britain should be the last country to bully anybody about Russians and others. Because Russians were the ones propping up the economy in addition to the money that they rob and plunder these islands. And we sit down and allow them to continue because, hey, they're the bigger boys, we're in the Caribbean, we should go to the IMF and beg, or come to them and beg.
Yep.
I'm going to leave you on this thought. In 1995, we came back from a course in Barbados. It was funded by Canada. When the Canadians came and interviewed us after being successful, right at the old central bank down, they were going down by government headquarters.
Yes.
You know what the lady was bold enough to say to us? St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean islands no longer need the Canadian money because we have good houses and good vehicles. You know what they expect us to do in the world? Is to continue using latrines, like how they have Africa, and not develop. And that there is their problem. And we can't swallow up to it and be bickering against each other when these things happen. We need to open our eyes and see the policy that they're holding us at. You do what we say, don't do what we do. Open our eyes, St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean, and you're going to see exactly that is happening.
Your point is very well taken. All right.
Take it easy.
And I do believe, like other leaders in the region, our PM has been pushed into a corner because even mentioned that he actually studied in Cuba. But the language of the release is what is telling, and I think he has a problem with this. I'll read. In the interest of national security, defense, and public safety of St. Kitts and Nevis, every citizen of and persons ordinarily resident in, the following countries shall be excluded from any application for the CBI. And we start with Afghanistan, Belarus, Cuba, Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. I'm going to read again what it says. In the interest of national security, defense, and public safety of St. Kitts and Nevis, every citizen of and persons ordinarily resident in the following countries shall be excluded from any application for the CBI. That wording bothers me because we know it's an external pressure, right? And we have to admit that in times past, there were some security concerns expressed by the U.S. about persons who were able to access their countries only via having a passport from St. Kitts and Nevis. And demands were made. I think adjustments were made. And until recently, we didn't know that there were some other concerns being expressed, mainly by the UK and the EU, based on the what I just read. And it really rubs us wrong because you did mention that person back in the 80s because of the relationship we would have had with the U.S. and wanted to please them. We recall when Maurice Bishop was forced to accept aid from Cuba, how he was stigmatized and ostracized, and Damien Virginia Charles, and they came here and they signed a document and allow the U.S. to go into Grenada, right? Because they were giving us aid and blah, 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 blah. So we would have come a long way from that by now, I would hope. But to see that we're wording it, that these countries that have been taken off the CBI list is because of a national security, defense, public safety issue with St. Kitts and Nevis. We know it's not. You know? But if these folks are allowed to access the passport, being able to access the US, the UK, the EU, that is the crux of the matter. Right? So unfortunately, it is. But one other takeaway from this is that the cost or the price for the passport has been increased from $150,000 US, which I had a problem with, to $250,000. I really had a problem because in the region, there were other countries competing with the price of the passport. As somebody described it, it was a race to the bottom. A race to the bottom. So it's now increased, making it a little more, really have more value to the passport. I really have a problem because the question has been raised about how many passports up there? When would you stop? You cannot continue. Just, it has a caller. You can't continue. Anyway, let's see what this caller have to say. Caller, your live on voices.
Yeah, good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, sister, anyway.
Before I make my comment, someone called me and asked me, is there a reason why the omnibuses do not take people to Bird Rock? I just said that they took a bus, and the bus put them up by the first roundabout in Bird Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And the person lives to the top of Bird Rock, eh?
It's off the bus route. You will have to pay extra for that. That's where the taxi comes in. It's not they refuse. There's a normal bus route.
Taxi to go up there?
From the circus, probably about 25 EC.
25 EC?
Yeah, roughly about that. And I can't do where in Bird Rock because you have
They are up below the hill, you know where.
Yeah, so they okay, so roughly about that. Around town is 15, 20, 25, depends on
I think it's off the bus route.
It is.
I know some buses go as far as the customs to drop our people to work up there.
Yes.
But they're not. The person listening.
They can be ticketed. The buses, even going into Frigate Bay, is not on the bus route. They can be ticketed.
All right, the next thing.
Yes.
It is the concern heightened in 2006 when the SIDF was introduced and the money kept pouring in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That is when they started getting worried, you know. With the earlier one, it was investment. You either bought land or you bought
The first one.
Property.
From 83.
Basic.
The one from 83.
Yes, the one from 83. There was no SIDF in it, no voluntary contribution. You find a lot of the houses over Frigate Bay, around the Gulf Coast and those things here.
Mm-hmm.
Those are part of the first trench.
And
now,
go ahead.
Cuba, I don't think it will affect the workers from Cuba because they do not need to apply for a Saint passport to come
travel.
here.
No.
It's only if a Cuban wants to travel to the EU and maybe the US, but not the US. They would apply for one. So I don't think it would affect. And when the US has started to pressure the Caribbean countries, Trinidad, Barbados, and Jamaica, ignore them and establish diplomatic relationship to Cuba. It is interesting how they left out Venezuela.
They have oil.
Not oil. The other day, when they couldn't get the Russian answer oil, they sent a group down to Venezuela
So this costs.
and gave Venezuela permission to start putting oil again.
Mm-hmm.
So you notice Venezuela not there?
On the list.
Not on the list. And they have the same ideology like the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing what is convenient to them. All right, then.
Thank you once again for educating us as best the best you can. I don't know what the program will be without you, but we appreciate that. You made a very valid point. Venezuela is supposed to be on the hit list, and of course, it's not on this list. Let's go back to the phone lines. Call you live on Voices. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Brown, you're in town. How are we doing?
I'm here, the king. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
The king.
Yes, sir.
I want to touch on a topic today that nobody is touching.
Let's hear you.
The king, under the past two governments, they have passed the weed or the ganja or the herb law. And each government seems to be strengthening it and making it more legal, But what a lot of us don't realize, remember the other day, they passed the law and said that you can't smoke it, restaurants, bars, churches, all those things. Otherwise, you can get a ticket.
Yep.
Well, the question, the king, I want the news department and the journalists them to ask the governing officials if the government country has closed down because we don't see nor hear none of the police officers them have no ticket book concerning giving anybody a ticket for smoking ganja in the public.
Well, some things goes without saying. They're not enforcing any hard and fast rule. I think it's an experimentation with the whole public. How do you react? See if there are any issue that have to really put their feet on, so to speak. So I don't think the police are giving instruction every day. You have to go out and monitor this place, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's what's happening.
That experiment, the king ain't even gone to testing yet because ganja is still being smoked all over, including in the churches.
Really?
Yep.
What kind of church?
I have been to the last several funerals, the king, and the ganja is being smoked in the churchyard.
In the churchyard, in the cemetery, I've seen that, but not in the church itself.
And when they're in the cemetery and the churchyard, it comes like we have the sugar industry start again because the amount of smoke they have is like when factory used to growing.
Yeah, okay. So your point is you think the police should monitor those things?
It's being smoked around restaurants, bars. I mean, the entire whole thing that they name out in that law that they submitted and said they passed. Nothing has changed.
So you want like a police like Rouse to monitor? Go to the...
No, but the question we have to ask is if the government country closed down, and why we haven't seen or heard of anyone getting a ticket or being, and remember they say that you could be taken to the court, you could get community service, all kind of blah, blah, blah. And it goes as free for all. So why the pass the land and not activating it?
I think unless there's some gross violation and there's a public outcry, you won't find enforcement.
You're not supposed to wait for the public outcry. A law is in place, and if the law is violated, then the persons who are put to act on the violation of the law do their job.
Now, I wasn't saying that we should wait. I'm saying I think, because the law is a law is a law. It's just an opinion I'm proffering.
Yes, the law is the law. So all I see this is, the king. It's like a photo shoot,
An experiment, told you?
I see it as a photo shoot. You just do the shoot and you move on. Because all that was done when they have to do in Parliament is to act like a photo shoot and make a hurrah to say, well, this present government is strengthening and more legal, making the weed more legal on some form or basis. Remember the last government, say when they went into Parliament, this is for medicine use and that sort of stuff.
It's got the medicinal value feature and different things, so they speak to that.
Exactly. And we ain't seen nothing of that sort happen. So
There
all we seen everything
is
when
no...
all these governments is some photo shoot and some horror to say they're doing something and to wind up, because they don't seem to think only the Rastaman them they use the weed. And every time they go to Parliament, every time they talk, they say the Rastaman them. And more baldhead using the weed than Rastaman.
There are no easy answers to this, and it's not really a priority issue in terms of national security. So...
Not yet, As you say, they're going to wait for the public outcry. Well, I am one of the public, and I start in the outcry.
Okay, Carl. Well, we hear loud and clear, right?
Yes.
But in the cemetery, when you find they gather for funeral and they smoke up and so on, you're going to find no police. No. Right? But we live and let live, okay?
Yes, man.
Mr. Brown in town. Any other callers? Okay. Why can't the bus routes be expanded? This is a query from a person who is following the conversation. We were discussing what Ms. Henry said about a person wanted to know why the bus couldn't take them to that place in Bird Rock. And I mentioned there's a bus route, etc., etc. That's the response. Let's see what this caller have to after the debate. Good day, caller, 11 voices.
Patona, greetings.
With respect.
How your day is going, Brother King?
Wonderfully. Wonderfully. Can't complain.
And good day. Good day to your listeners for your radio and internet of your program today. Now I just heard Carl talk some illiterate aspect to that.
I express your opinion, but just leave it your opinion.
I disrespect him enough. I said to the illiterate aspect of that crazy dirty bill. And we're not fear to say it without any fear or favor. Because here is it where we find that these crooked administration from Simmons and Bradshaw and Denzel and Timothy and on to this day, Dr. Jew, my brethren, we really see that you all ain't ready for the way forward when it comes to the use of herb. And you all can come tell I and I that this is to protect the interests of the society. And you all crooked people, them out there who call America and Europe, who are representing garbage to human rights. You all can't come tell I and I that. Instead, now we go back to the table and respect the level that the judgment had stated from the beginning. The Constitution is a problem only in things and needs. We still have limited rights, even if they say you have a constitutional right. You know that?
Yes.
You know that. So let us put real facts on the ground here now. How could we have limited rights when the Constitution is the supreme law of this land, or the Federation of Thinkers and Navies? What kind of crap are we defending around here? So the former Governor General who just gone to the great beyond, may the ancestors them protect you and keep you to the love of the Almighty. But we say, and me say, my name is Samande Latunji Naskala Reed, known as Ras Aya. He's saying to the Thinkers and Navies and the whole entire world, Herb need to come off our stupid job basket. It's not no job, and it will never be a job. Where is it that you are watching something that the Creator could create naturally for human beings? He didn't say smoke it alone, you know. He said all her being feeding for the meat of man, woman and children. You be outside with our scriptures. So we could smoke in the church, or you go in the church, smoke in the church building because it's our sacrament without any hindering. And we ain't going to smoke herb. We just say, me walk me up anywhere we want and free in the Thinkers and Navies oil. Nobody gonna tell me to take my hope and carry it somewhere else. It's my right to use my hope within my custom, not in your custom because I'm not feed you. I respect in you, but don't come disrespect the level of our use of herb. And we ain't going in the church yard to say, oh, because we go in a funeral, we have to smoke. You have people doing things after their own concept, but I ain't doing how I and I see things going forward. So we said, let us go back to the giant board if we really serious about how we can go forward with this initiative towards the industrial aspect of it. Because if that is the only cocktail that you could come here about talking about smoking, designating, and Freedom of Conscience Act, and then you come talking about
Here's a question.
Yes, go ahead.
They gave you certain regulations as to areas you can smoke, blah, 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 etc. What exactly would satisfy you? What exactly? Legislation, in terms of legislation.
Let me look at Bastille. Let me look at Bastille in particular. Bastille is a complex area that don't have no space. So where in Bastille can you come and talk where you have designated area? Not even in that where they had the other day in June, Tala Music Festival. That's not on the popular to do that. Me would never, that's why me don't come them kind of action place, you know. Because me can't be people who be outlined to partying like they ain't have no conscience and no care. You must have care and conscience, my virgin. That's the format we need on. And if we don't see that, we ain't ready for how we solve our society. And it's not about economics alone. It's about the spiritual love that the Almighty has given every
The question remains, how would you word it? What would satisfy you? What would you want them to do so you can say, okay, we've reached an agreement, this works for me and my brethren and sistren. What will satisfy you?
You see, I would go down that tail you want me to answer you because that is not the format. The formality is to make sure everybody feels free and not hinder some because you could give them a kind of taste. We don't want a taste, we don't know how to be. What we need is to educate the people on the concept of how to balance yourself within the herb. And that's the only thing we can see. What will be safe in the spaces that we are in here. Because you can't tell me still, if I go and create a party, a function tomorrow, I have to apply to people who know no number of herb, but they come give me a designated area for how herb is supposed to use in the area of it. They don't know the wind surface of how the wind blow and penetration. All of that is a value. You see? So me no want no kind of, that's what I tell you, the people they must talk about that do legislation. And people don't know nothing about the value of the herb. And it's time now we go back to the table because that's what the church tell them. Consult with the Rastafari when you all are dealing these measures up to now we see the consultation that needed. Not even when the AG went into Parliament and said, well, he had discussion with the organization of Rastafari unit to talk. That's a discussion to come forward with the legislation. Let me ask you now, Brother King. When you talk twice with the people and you're going into a Parliament to indicate a that could safeguard and ground the governance of other people, them up, that cannot be because there's a lot of misinformation still not shared.
Understood. Okay.
I mean, I'm afraid to say I wasn't in one of them, which was the second one. But I would like to be the first one because I would tell the AG, you all know I ain't doing the right thing. Because even in the second one I outlined to him, we need public education. And I've been calling from that since under Timothy Harris, the former Prime Minister.
Okay, Russell, yeah.
People watch me and say, oh, don't stop the can eat. I don't want to take me on here because anybody try to disrespect me. They say, me like the court of, me know the laws, man, so don't try not to on your partner.
Adrian,
Rastafari.
we got about 6 minutes to go.
Tell the police and the army, man, Rastafari say, leave the people them over alone in the gun and in the yard.
Okay, they're listening to hear you. I've got about 6 minutes to go. And we got to take a next quick station break before we get to maybe a call or two after. So back downtown and we'll get back. Voices. Hello, caller. You're live on Voices. Let me be having some.
Greetings.
Yes, you're live on Voices. Go ahead.
With anything from the radio, so we will decide. Let me move away. All right. The more things change, the more it remains the same. You know, some people conveniently don't see the bigger picture within the scheme of things that is going on. Reason earlier. And some people are ignorant what's going on, you know, within the scheme of things. But any which way, good will always triumph over evil, ultimately. So it's just a matter of time with all that is going on.
Well said.
Things with this CBD. It's like prostitution. Straight up, that's how we see it. We in it, and the sooner we get out of it, the better. The jingles, the jingles, the marbles, that is part of it. I call it marbles because we are continental people now. Just when it comes to wealth and riches. Yeah, you remember when this man with the poor, we didn't even know we poor. You know what I'm saying there?
Of course, I thought we were rich.
Yeah, man. All you sleep on ground, and you know the whole works. Yeah, you plug your lodging, your this, use toilet latrine and this and whatever. We come to it. And, you know, it's the same thing. These are people that come from a continent that, you know, wealth abundantly. So, marbles. So, you see the thing there, yeah, it's an affront to our dignity that we have to, you know, we have to go there in terms of the monetary thing. It's not pretty. And, like a question I asked a while ago, when we going to stop?
Very good question. It bothers me.
The number, all right. You know, me I see something that me to talk about it on radio is another conversation. But hear this now, the Chief of Life. After Jacques had made that sound towards his recent experience, me follow through, respond and say, we're not paying not even a cent out of the 20,000, and Jacques is not going to spend 1 day in jail. And we mean that. Because it's beyond sound, you know. And the thing is now, Jacques is a Rastafari, but we go beyond that. Me say, we put ourselves in the shoe of everyone who uses the herb, whether you smoke it, eat it, drink it, whatever. And I was speaking on my behalf, Rasila speaking. But after that, I was reminded, you know, talking about, what I talk about the umbrella organization, OIU. I was reminded, you know, as a liability, I was reminded that I am the PRO, the present PRO for the organization of Rastafari Unity International.
Got to be heard.
So, pardon?
You've got to be heard. You got to speak to the agenda.
So I didn't take on that when I didn't remember that when I was talking, because I am not a person who head over heels with position. I'm a servant. I see myself as a servant. Position don't get to my head. None at all. And I'm glad I am that way. I go to Jamaica and see elders who flex that way also. And I know here is a very good way to flex. Even though in your position, you must be responsible the best you can. And speaking now as a PRO, I want to echo everything that I said.
Yeah, but we got to wrap things up right now. We got to wrap things up. We are out of time.
Not going to support any laws, any penalties that are not proper, that are not right.
Okay,
yeah?
got you.
Administration. Want to support it.
We are out of time, Russ. So I want to thank you for your contribution once again. Perhaps Monday we can continue the discussion. And I have a text here from my friend Journey. He says, King last Friday closed the program after trying to get in 22 times. Today the same thing happened. Can you ask the operator check if my calls are restricted? No calls, no numbers show up, so we don't know who is calling. Is a case of rolling the dice. Some people call, getting 3-4 times the same program. Others can't get in at all. So my apologies to you, sir, but nothing is done to restrict anyone from getting in the program, except maybe the lines are not as free as they ought to be, but it's nothing personal. And I want to wish everybody a safe and most wonderful weekend. It's Friday. Some people sing, thank God it's Friday, and it's Friday for many. We celebrate. We've come to the end of another week. Tomorrow, of course, is Saturday. Some celebrate, some go to church, etc. We have been fortunate to get some rain. And once again, I hope the farmers were able to enjoy that, benefit from that. The country as a whole is all green, lush, and beautiful. We want to wish each and every one of you a most safe, wonderful weekend, a peaceful weekend, and may you come out on the other side all hail and hearty, giving thanks and praise to the powers that be. On that note, we say pa-pa-pa-da-da.
Here are your Horseman's Value Mart IGA specials.
Running July 27 to August 9.
And during the month of August, the more you shop, the more you save.
You get double points on all meats and non-grocery items, so shop today.